The Apennines are the leading influence in the morphology of central Italy. The area is principally mountainous, with more prominent elevations along the eastern sector, where the Gran Sasso and the Maiella massifs are found. The few low-lying areas are spread along the Tyrrhenian coast. Here it is possible to see from space the signs of ancient volcanic activity, extinct craters that are now occupied by small lake basins with a distinctive circular shape. The islands of the Tuscan archipelago also face the Tyrrhenian coast. Elba, with its jagged outline, is the third biggest Italian island and is dominated by Monte Capanne. It has several towns and is a major tourist destination, as is Giglio Island, which has an elliptical shape and a central hilly ridge. The other islands, today comprised in a national park that protects all of Monte Cristo, are sparsely populated and covered in Mediterranean maquis. Heading southwards from the north, we encounter Gorgona, Capraia, the Formiche cliffs of Grosseto, Pianosa, and Gianutri, which houses the remains of a Roman villa. In the past, when sea levels were higher, the promontories of Piombino and Argentario were also islands. Now they are connected with the mainland by lagoon areas that have been partly reclaimed. The Tyrrhenian coast is generally low-lying and sandy, except in the vicinity of the promontories, which rear up to form high cliffs. Continuing southwards along the coast of Lazio, there is another archipelago, the Pontine Islands, lying off the promontory of Circeo. The largest island is Ponza, surrounded by Palmarola, Zanone, Ventotene and the little Santo Stefano. The Adriatic coast does not look onto islands and has almost no level ground, with the exception of a narrow strip bordering the beaches that line the coast almost without interruption, except in the places where the hilly promontories reach down to the sea, in particular near the horn of Monte Conero. The loftiest peaks in peninsular Italy are found in Abruzzo. Corno Grande, which rears to 2,914 meters above sea level, is part of the Gran Sasso Massif. Monte Amaro is the highest summit of Abruzzo's other massif, the Maiella group. The offshoots of the Apennines often mark the natural boundaries between the regions, such as in the cases of the Tuscan-Emilian Apennines and the Umbrian Marche Apennines, where Monte Vittore, part of the Sibillini mountain range, rises to 2,478 meters. The western Anti-Apennini in Tuscany and in Lazio are not very prominent ranges that rarely climb higher than 1,000 meters. These are hilly areas that are volcanic in origin and can be recognized by their distinctive conical shape. The Monti Volsini, the Cimini Hills and the Monti Sabatini and the Alban Hills near Rome. Monte Amiata in Tuscany is also volcanic in origin. There are other mountain ranges in Tuscany that have been made famous by human activity, such as the Alpi Apuane, where the renowned Carrara marble is quarried, the metal-bearing hills of the Colline Metallifere, where many pits and quarries interrupt the vegetation, or the hills of the Chianti region. The Apennines reach their greatest altitude in Abruzzo, where several peaks are more than 2,000 meters high. On the slopes in Lazio, we encounter Terminillo, a ski resort situated at 2,213 meters above sea level. The highest summits lie in the Abruzzo region. Between the belts of mountains and hills, there are ample punch bowls and plateaus, such as the Valle Umbra and the other punch bowls in Umbria, those in Norcia, Cascia, Gubbio and Terni. Depressions in the ground with flat bottoms that were once occupied by lakes. There are other large punch bowls in Abruzzo, in Aquila, Sulmona and the Fucine plain. The Tiber Valley is shaped by the Tiber River, the lower reaches of which have given rise to a vast alluvial plain, the Aga Romanus. Further south lies the Pontine marshes, a former swamp that has been drained and reclaimed. The Maremma, lying in Lazio and Tuscany, is another plain resulting from long land reclamation campaigns. Towards the north, the Maremma continues into the wide Val d'Arno, which follows the course of the Arno to Florence and the expanse of the Versilia. The inland waterways of central Italy are mainly distributed over the regions on the Tyrrhenian side of the country, where the longest rivers such as the Arno and the Tiber have their courses and the most extensive lake basins are found. The line of the watershed is actually located nearer the Adriatic Sea, where there are watercourses with smaller drainage basins. The Tiber is Italy's third longest river. It is navigable from its mouth up to Rome, a distance of 34 kilometers. Following the Tiber upstream, we encounter some tributaries. The Agnene, which merges with the Tiber in the metropolis of Rome, and in the Umbria region, the Nera, which receives the waters of the Velino, the Nestore, the Topino, and the Ciaschio. The Garigliano is the second longest river in Lazio. The Arno, which is 241 kilometers long, runs through the most built-up part of Tuscany, where Florence and Pisa are located. The river meanders gently through the low-lying level area. North of the Arno, we find the Serchio and the Magra. These watercourses are torrential. The Ombrone is another important Tuscan river. It traverses the Maremma and drains into the Parco dell'Uccellina. The rivers of the Adriatic are short, only a few dozen kilometers long, and they have irregular discharges. They often become canal ports near their mouths, allowing boats to moor on a shoreline that doesn't have many natural inlets. Mankind's activities have had far-reaching effects on the hydrography of central Italy, most notably by means of a long series of land reclamation campaigns that were initiated in the early Roman period. The Fucine plain in the Abruzzo region derives from the drainage of an ancient lake by the Romans. Italy's highest waterfalls, the 165-meter-high Cascata delle Marmore in Umbria, were created by a channel that was also dug by the Romans. The age-old struggle against the unhealthy and inhospitable marshes also led to the reclamation of vast areas in the Maremma. Here, the sea's action creates tombolos, very long sandbanks that separate the internal lagoons from the Tyrrhenian Sea. A famous example is the lagoon of Orbetello, where the tombolos join Argentario to the mainland. Seen from a modern conservationist perspective, the habitat of the wetlands is a legacy to be safeguarded. The plains of the Pontine marshes in Lazio were reclaimed around 1930. Their drainage allowed new areas to be tilled and new cities such as Sabaudia to be founded. Some coastal lakes and marshes have been conserved, and today they are comprised in the Circheo National Park. Central Italy has a great many lake basins of various kinds and origins. The Trasimeno is Italy's fourth largest lake, although it is only 6 meters deep. The lakes of northern Lazio are volcanic in origin. Lakes Bolsena, Bracciano, Vico, Albano and Nemi all occupy ancient craters of extinct volcanoes. In Tuscany, we can observe the lake of Massa Cicoli near the shores of the Versilia tract of the Tuscan coast. The Abruzzo region is also rich in lake basins. In the partly reclaimed inland hollows, we find, for example, the lake of Scanno. In addition to the small natural lakes at the foothills of the massifs of Abruzzo, such as Lake Ducessa, there are also artificial lakes. Numerous reservoirs have been created for the production of hydroelectric power and for irrigation, such as the lakes of Campotosto and Barea, as well as Lake Guardialfiera and Lake Ocito in the Molise region. An environment rich in natural resources and landscapes, where man and nature have managed to strike a sapient balance. These characteristics have made the regions of central Italy internationally famous tourist destinations. The mild Mediterranean climate affects large areas of Tuscany, Lazio and the Adriatic regions, favouring the growth of evergreen Mediterranean maquis, which is rich in aromatic plants, olive trees and vines. A cold climate is experienced only on the higher ground, where precipitation is favoured even during the summer months. The natural parks of central Italy are distinguished by as yet uncontaminated nature, and also by significant traces of civilizations going back thousands of years. There are ample protected areas along the coast and on the islands of the Tyrrhenian Sea, such as the parks of the Maremma, the Circheo, or the Tuscan archipelago. The landscape features the hardy Mediterranean maquis, accompanied by the monumental presence of watchtowers that once guarded against raids by the Saracens. Little huddled hamlets fortified by the military architecture of the Medici family. And diminutive farm structures such as presses for the meagre grape harvest yielded by this land with its arid climate. The Romans often chose the most panoramic settings for their villas. The fascinating park of Appia Antica has recently been established near Rome, with extraordinary trails among monuments from the Roman period in alluring natural surroundings. Along the cliffs, it is possible to find clear traces of Etruscan ports and mines, or Roman eel pools. The green valleys of Umbria conceal age-old forests and also the places where St. Francis went to pray. The often conflicting dialectic between man and nature finds particular expression in the activity of draining and reclaiming marshland, which is still evident in the canalization of the Maremma and in the recent environmental valorization of the remaining wetlands, almost all of which are now safeguarded. The region of Italy that contains the highest percentage of protected areas is Abruzzo, with 28% of the territory in nature reserves. The national parks of Gran Sasso and the Maiella place great importance on their fauna. Sheep rearing in the territories of the Abruzzo and Molise regions involves the twice-yearly droving of large herds from highlands to lowlands and vice versa, called transhumances, which leave well-worn tracks known as trattori. Lake Trasimeno is a particularly delicate environment with little exchange of water. It has only managed to preserve its habitats and suitability for bathing thanks to environmental conservation. Apart from the protected areas, the landscape of central Italy includes vast areas that are particularly beguiling, such as the hilly district of Tuscany and the Marche, and especially the countryside around Siena, which is rich in villas and farmsteads, rows of cypresses, cultivations and vineyards. Central Italy was the birthplace of the first native advanced civilizations on the peninsula, the Etruscans and the Romans, in the territories that more or less correspond to the present-day Lazio and Tuscany regions. Hence, they are historical lands, in particular Tuscany, which, in various eras, constituted independent political entities, from Etruria to the Signoria of the Medici family to the Grand Duchy of Tuscany, which entered the Kingdom of Italy in 1860. Today, the Tuscany region is densely populated, home to almost 3.5 million inhabitants. It is well developed economically and culturally, and wealthier than the national average. The areas that are built up the most, which are recognizable from a satellite thanks to the miniature mosaic of the territory, are located on the coastal plains and the river valleys. The southern part of the region is less densely inhabited. It is primarily hilly and occupied by the agricultural region of the Maremma. Some geographical areas have become famous thanks to their high-quality food products, such as Chianti for wine, Val di Chiana for beef, and Lucca for olive oil. Lazio played an even greater role in Italy's cultural history. It owes its name to the Latins, whose language left its mark first on the Roman Empire and then on the Neo-Latin countries of Europe and the New World. Rome has played the role of capital of the world for thousands of years, first of the earthly empire and then of the spiritual one of the popes. The capital of Italy remains in the fulcrum of the region. Half of Lazio's 5 million inhabitants live in Rome nowadays. It is also the site of the Vatican City. The valley of the Tiber has seen the spread of a concentration of industrial activities, including high-tech companies, which continues towards Aprilia and Pomezia. The Pontine marshes, which was drained during the fascist period, is intensely cultivated. Among the tourist attractions of the region worthy of mention, apart from Rome, there is the Circeo National Park, the Pontine Islands, Monte Terminilo, and several art cities and archaeological sites. The Marche is a small region with less than 1.5 million inhabitants, most of whom are concentrated on the coast. After a phase of fragmentation into several feudal territories known as Marche, the land came under the control of the aristocratic House of Montefeltro and then of the Papal States. Ancona is the chief port of the Adriatic coast. The hilly territory of the interior underwent a long phase of depopulation, and these days it is attempting to recover through tourism and the production of quality foodstuffs. The mountain passes through the Apennines have favoured the development of a network of freeways that join the coastal highway to the regions of the Tyrrhenian Sea. The Republic of San Marino lies on the northern boundary. Umbria is the only region in the Italian peninsula not to be washed by the sea. Sparsely inhabited, most of its 800,000 residents are concentrated around Perugia and Terni, often, however, in small or very small towns. The 92 municipalities of Umbria consist of more than 700 villages and hamlets, often of ancient origin. A distinctive trait of the region derives from monasticism. For example, the influence of St. Benedict of Norcia and St. Francis of Assisi. Nowadays, the economy is driven by tourism, thanks to the year-round attraction of the splendid artistic centres located in a unique natural setting. Once somewhat isolated, Umbria has recently improved its road infrastructure, especially towards the A1, the motorway of the sun, which joins Milan with Naples. Abruzzo is a vast region with a low population density, 117 inhabitants per square kilometre, mainly concentrated on the coast and in the inland punch bowls such as that of Aquila. Before the unification of Italy, the territory was part of the Kingdom of Naples and was quite backward on account of the latifundist landed estates and banditry. Nowadays, Abruzzo is experiencing notable economic growth, driven by small and medium-sized businesses and tourism, both of which have been favoured by the development of the transport networks. Molise is a small region that was joined to Abruzzo until 1963. It is mountainous and sparsely inhabited, with small settlements that are often abandoned in the more inhospitable zones. For centuries, there have also been small communities of Croatians and Albanians here. The Adriatic motorway runs along the coast and the railroad connects the port of Termoli with Campobasso and Isernia. Tuscany and Lazio were among the first areas to be urbanized. Since the earliest times, society was organized around urban centers of great importance, especially Rome and Florence, which are still political and cultural reference points and have been transformed into built-up areas. The population resides above all in the conurbations of Rome and Florence. By now, this latter has spread to take in Prato and Pistoia. Important road and rail communication routes have developed around the chief town of Tuscany, joining the north and the south of the peninsula. Florence, which today has in excess of 350,000 inhabitants, attracts an average of 6 million tourists a year and is an established industrial and handicrafts centre. Other areas with an elevated population density are found along the coast, from Livorno, an important commercial port, to Massa and Carrara in Tuscany, or around Ancona, the chief city of the Marche region, and also between Pescara and Chieti. In Tuscany and in the Marche, the era of the medieval communes or the signorie or aristocracies witnessed the rise of prestigious centres of local power, which were in constant opposition to each other. They included the noble Urbino, elected capital by the Montefeltro dynasty, which still boasts its ducal palace as well as the other highly esteemed monuments and museums. It is an enchanting backdrop for Urbino's current vocation as a university town. Political autonomy and wealth supported the construction of old towns of great artistic value, for example in Siena, where the beauty of the Piazza del Campo, dominated by the Torre del Mangia, rivals that of the multicolored marble of the Duomo, Siena's cathedral. Today, Siena offers one of the highest qualities of life of all the cities in Italy. Pisa was a maritime power whose commercial activities stretched all the way to the Orient. The monumental complex of the Piazza dei Miracoli, with the Leaning Tower, the cathedral, the baptistry and the Camposanto monumental cemetery, is the unambiguous confirmation of the city's medieval opulence. Lucca, Pistoia and Arezzo also contain art treasures from the past, dating from the Roman period to the Renaissance, which nowadays attract imposing numbers of tourists and provide inspiration for prestigious value-added economic activities such as jewelry making in Arezzo. The little town of Grosseto lies in an area with a low population density. The chief city of Umbria, Perugia, stands on a hill that dominates the Tiber Valley. Its fortified appearance and its vast artistic heritage date back to the age of the communes. Terni, on the other hand, is an industrial centre. The cities of the Marche region are of modest dimensions. Only Ancona has more than 100,000 inhabitants. The promontory of Monte Conero typifies the urban structure, which is different from the other coastal towns of the Adriatic. The church of San Ciriaco, overlooking the imposing harbour facilities, is worthy of mention. Then there is Pesaro, which forms a province together with Urbino. Ascoli Piceno and Macerata have some very interesting monuments, such as the extraordinary Sferisterio Stadium. Lazio's central geographical position corresponds to the political centrality of Rome, the capital of Italy since 1871 and the hub of the entire Italian transport network. This is where the principal airport, Fiumicino, and the busiest railroad station, Termini, are found. The city's ancient river port was Ostia. Countless monuments, archaeological sites, churches and museums attract millions of visitors every year. Today, Rome has more than 2.5 million inhabitants and has come to terms with urban traffic that is far too intense. Out of the ordinary economic activities here include cinema and television production. The other main towns in Lazio are quite small. Only Latina has more than 100,000 inhabitants. Viterbo and Rieti are popular destinations for art lovers. The principal port of Lazio is Civitavecchia. With the exception of Pescara, the region's main road and harbour node, the towns of Abruzzo have less than 100,000 residents. Chieti is a historic centre located on a summit that is developed along the principal highways. Aquila was founded in the 13th century at the behest of Emperor Frederick II of Swabia and contains important, well-preserved historic edifices, such as the Fountain of the 99 Spouts, as well as the walls and the 14th century gates. Campobasso, the chief town of the Little Molise region, has only 50,000 inhabitants. The town grew around the feudal castle. Isernia is another small town, and Termoli is the only port in Molise. Central Italy is distinguished by the presence of a great many little towns with deep-rooted historic and cultural traditions, which nowadays attract significant numbers of tourists. Assisi is the spiritual centre of the Umbra Valley, enhanced by the frescoes by Giotto in the Basilica of St. Francis, which have been restored in the wake of the recent earthquake. Volterra reveals a historic layering of monumental works, from the Etruscan necropolises through the vestiges of the Roman civilization to the Middle Ages. There are well-preserved medieval old towns in Spoleto, celebrated for its Duomo, San Gimignano with its famous towers, and Gubbio with its marvelous Piazza Grande. Todi and Norcia have also managed to keep their medieval atmosphere unaltered on account of their public and religious architecture. The principal monument in Orvieto is the cathedral with its extraordinary Gothic facade. Northern Lazio has important traces of the Etruscan civilization, from Tarquinia to Tuscania. Outside Rome, there are important archaeological excavations from the Roman era in the villa of the Emperor Hadrian in Tivoli and Ostia Antica. For some time now, central Italy has been experiencing a phase of economic expansion, driven by the tourism services and industrial sectors. Tourism is flourishing and is being constantly developed. In addition to the lure of the artistic attractions in the major cities and the coasts with their seaside resorts, more progressive ways of exploiting tourism are being attempted, such as farmhouse or agriturismo holidays, food and wine tasting itineraries and cultural events, all of which contribute towards making the sector less dependent on the seasons and increasing its growth throughout the territory. Tuscany's vocation for tourism dates back to the days of the Grand Tour and witnesses a constant flow of foreign visitors, in particular Anglo-Saxons, who are drawn to the pastoral countryside and the cuisine. The tradition of religious tourism is even older, bringing imposing numbers of pilgrims who are headed towards Rome and the sanctuaries of Assisi and Loreto. The secondary volcanism of the Tyrrhenian regions has favoured the development of renowned health spa resorts such as Saturnia and Montecatini and a thriving mineral water bottling industry. The natural parks have boosted the economic development of some marginal areas, for example in Abruzzo, where there are also important vacation resorts for winter sports. The centres of primary industrialisation have also found new opportunities in tourism, for example Piombino, which has bolstered its iron and steel industry with the proceeds of the shipping transport carried out by its ferries. Agriculture is becoming more specialised and is being oriented towards quality produce with high added value, such as wine, primarily in Tuscany, olive oil and black truffles in Umbria. The food industry features realities with long-standing traditions, for example chocolate production in Perugia. Abruzzo is renowned for the cultivation of saffron. Fishing is more important in the Adriatic, as this stretch of sea has more fish than the Tyrrhenian. Various forms of livestock rearing are practiced, and husbandry features sheep in the hilly areas and horses in Lazio. Industry is dominated by small and medium-sized companies, especially those involved in handicraft such as jewellery making in Arezzo, the working of alabaster and marble in Carrara, and the leather goods industry in Valdarno. The Marche region is home to some important industrial districts involved in the manufacture of furniture in Pesaro and paper and domestic appliances in Fabriano. There are also primary industrial activities, for example steelworks in Terni, oil refineries on the coast of Lazio, and the harnessing of geothermal energy from the borax fumaroles in Larderello. The automobile industry has established important plants in Termoli in the Molise, in Cassino in Lazio, and in Sulmona in Abruzzo. The road network of central Italy is still very much influenced by the Roman layout. Many highways correspond to the routes of the old Roman roads that converge on the capital. The Aurelia is still the main communication route on the Tyrrhenian littoral, where there is as yet no highway between Livorno and Civitavecchia. The motorway of the Sun, central Italy's backbone, and the Adriatic motorway running down to Puglia are very important. The services sector is mostly developed in the large urban centres, especially Rome, the seat of the central public administration. The extraordinary continuity of the thousands of years of urban society in Rome is symbolically exemplified by the structure of the Pantheon. The largest cupola in concrete from ancient times has remained intact after 2,000 years, even if the function of the edifice has adapted to the dominant culture after the collapse of the Empire, the Roman Catholic Church. Visits to the Pantheon are still illuminated by natural light as the Romans designed. The most visible trace of antiquity in Rome's urban layout is associated with the Roman roads, which still determine the radial street plan of the city as they branch out towards the ancient provinces of Italy and the Empire. In some places, such as on the Appia Antica, the original Appian Way, we can still see the monumental function of these roads in their suburban tract. The water supply network of Rome is also attested to by the colossal presence of some aqueducts, which reach right to the heart of the city and are still used to a limited extent. The ancient health spa structures are disused these days, or they have been adapted for other functions, whereas the public distribution of water by means of fountains has remained a distinctive characteristic of Rome over the centuries, giving rise to some extraordinary masterpieces, such as the Trevi fountain or those in Piazza Navona. The Aurelian walls show where the outline of the city lay in imperial times, and they still mark the confines of the oldest nucleus of the capital. The archaic centre of the city of the Seven Hills, the Palatine Hill and the little hollow of the Roman Forum, hide in their depth the stratifications of the monumental settlements from the Etruscans to the imperial period. The Emperor's Palace on the Palatine and the area of the Imperial Fora constitute an archaeological area of enormous interest. This is where the political and administrative business of the capital of the empire was conducted, and where triumphal processions were held under the monumental arches commemorating the great conquests of the past, which were also visually represented in celebratory pillars such as Trajan's Column. Other great works associated with the emperors are scattered around the city and are still important landmarks. The colossal circular structure of Hadrian's mausoleum was adapted to its new defensive role in Castel Sant'Angelo. From here, the site of St. Peter's Basilica emerges from the vista of the Via della Conciliazione, a 19th century creation that has turned out very different from the intentions of its architect, Bernini, who inserted his colonnade into the context of an intricate medieval district that has by now disappeared. The Basilica of St. Peter in Vatican City stands on the site of the Circus of Nero, where the first Christians were martyred. The Vatican museums, together with the other important museums of the city, house priceless works of art that document the thousands of years of stratification of Roman civilization. Another way to explore this historical density is by descending into the bowels of the earth and entering the subterranean city of the catacombs. Along the Tiber River, which was only tamed by its high banks in modern times, we encounter the Tiber Island, where the serpent of Asclepius landed, giving rise to an ancient hospital. The island still fulfills its role of sanitarium, favoured over the centuries by the natural isolation afforded to it by the Tiber. It is still covered in the travertine marble with which it was adorned in the imperial period, and its unusual shape recalls that of a ship. The greatest entertainment complexes of the ancient city, the Colosseum and the Circus Maximus, still stage majestic spectacles today, even if their natures have changed since the days of the gladiators. During the Renaissance, the governments of the pontiffs used the great monuments as quarries to be plundered for the subsequent constructions. As it says in a famous inscription, what the barbarians didn't manage, the Barberini did. But the Renaissance and Baroque periods also left us indisputable works of art, such as the Capitoline Hill, built according to the plans of Michelangelo and featuring the equestrian statue of Marcus Aurelius. Few places in the world can boast such a concentration of artistic masterpieces as the Old Town in the heart of Florence. An overwhelming richness, as Stendhal wrote after being overcome by the paradoxical syndrome of the city's beauty.